Okay, so now we're going to review reporting category number 3, writing and solving linear inequalities. So the first thing we're going to look at is just writing a linear inequality. You are going to be writing it in the y equals mx plus b format, except for the equal sign is going to be replaced by one of your inequality symbols. So you've got your less than, your greater than, you've got your greater than or equal to. Some keywords for that could be at least or minimum. And then you have your less than or equal to symbol, which you could also recognize with the phrase no more than and maximum. So let's look at our first example here in the table. We have 3 points on a boundary line are given. The boundary line is not part of the solution set, and the point 0, 1 belongs to the solution set. So I want to look at this table right here. So I'm going to go ahead and write y equals mx plus b format because I need to find a slope and a y-intercept, and I can do that finding the equation in my calculator. So I'm going to go to stat enter, and I'm going to type in my table. -7, -1, and 5. And now I'm going to go to stat. I'm going to arrow over to calc. Now, the only options I have here are 4 for linear, 5 for quadratic, and 0 for exponential. And because this is an inequality, it is linear. So I'm going to pick option 4, and I'm going to come down here to calculate, and I'm going to write a equals 2, b is equal to -3. And now I'm going to put this together in an equation, or in an inequality. So I'm going to say y, and then I'm going to leave a space because I don't know if it's less than or equal to, and I'm going to put 2x, and since b is negative, that's my y-intercept, I'm going to say -3. Now, they gave me a clue. They said the boundary line is not part of the solution set. Okay, so I have 2 types of boundary lines. I have a solid boundary line and I have a broken boundary line. So which of those 2 would points not be part of the shaded region? And that would be points that are on a broken line. So what I'm going to do, and they also told me that the point 0, 1 belongs to the solution set. So if I can sketch this line, 2x minus 3, and I can see which side 0, 1 falls on, then I know if I'm going to shade up from the line or down from the line. So I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to type in 2x minus 3 because I just want to see what this graph line is. I know there's not going to be a bar. Now, in your calculator will always do a solid line. It will not show you a broken line. So you have to know, because we know that any point on the boundary line is not included as part of the shaded region. This really should be a broken line, but my calculator doesn't know that. I have to know that as the user. So I want to plot 0, 1. That would be on the y-axis at +1, and you can see that ordered pair falls above the graph line, so I need to shade up. And if I need to shade up, then this is going to be a greater than. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 0, 1 is above graph line, which means I need to shade up. And that's how I know that I am using a greater than symbol. If 0, 1 would have been below the graph line, I would be shading down. But because 0, 1 is above, I've got to shade up, which tells me I'm using a greater than sign. And again, no bar because the line is not part of the shaded region. So let's look at our graph. Now they've actually given us a picture, so we're going to write it in y equals mx plus b format. So I need a slope, and I also need a y-intercept. Okay, well the y-intercept is pretty easy to see because where does it cross the y-axis? It crosses it at 1. And then I need to look at my slope. How does this move from one point to another? So I'm going to move down and to the right. So how many do I need to move down and how many do I need to move right before I end up back on this broken line? So I'm going to actually pick out another ordered pair. I'm going to pick out this x-intercept over here at 3. And so now I'm going to count. So to get from this y-intercept to this x-intercept, I would go down 1, And then I would have to go right 1, 2, 3. So I would go right 3. Well, if I'm going down 1, that really tells me that my slope is negative, and I can also look at the slant of this broken line, and it is in the nice negative direction. So I know that my slope has to be a negative. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify this fraction because a slope is always simplified. So I'm going to type in -1/3, and I get that fraction back in my calculator, so that tells me that my fraction is already simplified. You just want to check that and make sure. And so now I'm going to write this as y. I don't know if it's greater than or less than yet, but I'm going to write -1/3 x. And then this would be +1 because my y-intercept is positive. And so now I want to look, okay, if I'm at my y-intercept point, would I need to go up to get to the shading area, or would I need to move down? And if you look, your shaded area is up from the boundary line, so shading up means that it has to be greater than. And no bar, again, because it is a broken line. All right, now let's look at the verbal. It says Michael was given a gift card for $25. Bracelets cost $2.50, and necklaces cost $3. Write an inequality that represents the number of bracelets B and the number of necklaces N that Michael can purchase. Okay, so I like to deal with the total. So he has a gift card. Michael was given a gift card. So we know that he has money to spend. How much money does he have to spend? He has $25. Now, would that be considered the maximum on his gift card? Can he go over $25? And the answer would be no, because that is all he has on the gift card. So whatever he buys has to be less than $25. But could he spend exactly $25 and still be able to use his gift card? And the answer is yes. So I know it's got to be less than or equal to $25. He can't spend more than $25, and he can spend exactly $25. So he's got to spend less than or equal to. All right, it says bracelets cost $2.50. And they also told me that the bracelets, the number of bracelets that he buys is with the letter B. So $2.50 and B have to match up. So I am going to pay $2.50 every time I buy a bracelet. I just don't know how many times I'm going to be buying a bracelet. So I'm going to say $2.50 times B. And then necklaces cost $3, and they told me the letter, or the variable to use with necklaces is N. So I'm going to say 3N, because every time I buy a necklace, I'm going to be paying $3. I just don't know how many times I'm going to pay $3. And if I want to add up the cost of all the bracelets and the cost of all the necklaces, I would have to add their totals together. So that's got to equal less than or equal to 25.